Hello, folks. Welcome back to Viva La Cats. It is the summer, the middle of the summer. And I am your host, Justin Hiles, accompanied by my great friend Steve Maurer. And we are here to bring you the very best show covering all things Bearcats. Our network is the 1012 Network. You can make sure to check out all of our shows with Steve's Cacti and more. That is not one of the shows on the network, but it could be. I don't know, that Arizona spot. Anyways, we have a lot for you. Like we said, it's the middle of the summer. We have taken a few weeks off, maybe a month, a little more off. Phil, don't kill us. We have been busy. So, with all of that out of the way, Steve, we have to get this off the top. We have hit 2,500 followers. We would just like to give a great big shout out and a clap and a hand for all of you folks who follow us. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting the show and our X Twitter site coverage of everything Bearcats. So we hope you are having a great summer and stick with us through the rest of it until season of football time kicks up.
Or until X explodes. Either one.
Either one. Steve, real quick, give me a rundown. What has happened with your life in the past month? You have 10 seconds.
We are under triple digits until I get married this fall. So, and we had my bachelor party. So pretty crazy.
Great stuff. That was a great time. We all had a great time.
It was a lot of fun.
I would just like to say our team won, not Steve's team. Our team won the scramble. Shout out.
We had a team not even make it through 9 holes. So
that's another story altogether. Yeah. Quick personal catch up on me. Had a birthday last week. That was great. And got engaged last week, which was also.
You're burying a lead a little bit there.
So we had 2 very fantastic things in personal life go on. So again,
let's go.
Been very busy for everybody here. So that is what's been going on with us. Our last thing before we jump straight into Media Days, which is happening as we speak this past week. Steve, we need to give people a lesson on how to spell Cincinnati. It is not very hard. It isn't very hard. How do you spell Cincinnati?
Well, Justin, there is a piece of golden cinema, absolute cinema that Martin Scorsese would call it, where they literally spell out the name in the song. Have you ever heard of the film or seen the film Babes in Toyland?
Yes.
They literally sing the letters out. So, Justin, why don't we sing it together? Do you know the song that I'm referring to?
I know this song. I can't sing
Let me just sing it for you. How about that?
Okay.
Cincinnati, Cincinnati, where the Reds and Bengals mall teams. That's right.
That's right.
Pretty simple.
And for those of you who don't like singing,
1 T. That's it. 2 I's.
CIN. CINNATI. That is Cincinnati. EA Sports, if you don't get it right before you release your game, we will have some big old problems. We're going to have some problems, so get it right.
And if you didn't know, this is sign language for stand on business. So you better
stand on business.
You better watch out, EA Sports. I am very excited for your game, but we'll talk about that later. But if you're going to misspell Cincinnati, then I'm just not going to play it. This pretty simple rule. I mean, I did say that it was the Big 12's fault, and I mean, maybe they should have proofread it, but they did credit to EA. Somehow they were able to fix it the next day, but yeah, I'm still just like, can you just do a quick 10-second overview of every name and match it up? Be like, that doesn't seem right. So
it's at this point, it should be common professionalism, common just knowledge. Somebody is going to have a problem spelling Cincinnati. So when you put the word Cincinnati on anything, if you're not from Cincinnati, have someone proof it for you. Literally put it. The words were typed out. It's not like somebody wrote it down. It's typed out, which means it went through something that probably has spell check.
Well, I mean, I guess you work in these design programs more than I do, Justin. Don't they not have spell check?
Depends on which program you're working with, but you can highlight something and spell check it. So The tool is there. It might not highlight the word and say that you spelled it wrong, but the tool is there. So use it. Regardless, that's a lot of time spent on something that was only meant to be 2 minutes. Regardless, Big 12 Media Days, we are here. Bearcats are in Vegas. The rest of the Big 12 teams are in Vegas. Some other people are in Vegas, including the Beavs and Cougs live show past 12 p.m., which you can catch on the Vegas Strip. Steve, what is the best news thus far through Media Days that you've heard?
I mean, it's got to be Scott Satterfield going on BYU's Sports Nation for some reason and just dropping casually that Dante Corleone is back working out with the team. Like,
Oh, yeah.
so that is, I mean, it's definitely a welcome sign. And Justin, like, you know, when I saw the news, obviously, about blood clots, like, I was like, okay, well, shit,
Yeah.
like his career's over. Like, I feel really bad for him. You know, and then it, like, some reports came trickling out later that day that it was not as bad as like people might have thought. But you know, still, it's like blood clots. You like don't really expect anything, but to, like,
Right.
just hear that he's already working out with the team, I'm like, well, like on one hand, like, you know, stay healthy, young man. You know, like we don't, yeah, like, you know, just stay healthy. That's all I'll say.
Right.
But two, that is a huge boost for this team because
Mm-hmm.
I swear, Justin, without him, like, you could probably take a win off the board. Like, you know, obviously we have all these different rankings and stuff. We'll go through a couple of them later on, but you could probably take a full win off the board. That's how much he means to this
Mm-hmm.
defense and to this team. Just from that talent standpoint and from just the standpoint of being a leader and being one of the guys that stayed and was able to really keep this roster together and bring the new guys on to this roster, like, just through all the tumult of the last 2 seasons. So
Mm-hmm.
that to me, that is just the biggest news.
Yeah, by far. I don't think anything tops that, and it's going to be really good to have him back in there. And of course, Cincinnati product and a Cincinnati namesake, like that's somebody that you really want on that team and really want in there. And he's a power player, and he is just a hitter, and you need to have him there. So that's huge there. Let's get this off the chest too. Preseason poll: Bearcats come in the Big 12 media poll at 14th. Is that higher or lower than you expected? And why is it lower?
Whoops, sorry. We're not talking about the Cincinnati Reds right now. So here's the thing, Justin. It is lower than I think, and I am bullish, and I have been slacking and not put out my full manifesto yet on why I have tweeted it, but I have not put the video to it. So I think tomorrow is finally the day, Justin, that I will finally put this video out. Hashtag Bowl by Boulder. But
Oh yeah,
I,
baby.
I think it's, I mean, obviously we're fans. We're going to be higher on expectations than the rest of the media. And I rightfully, like, I don't blame people for not knowing, like, our quarterback just off the tongue, but
Mm-hmm.
to me, I've been saying it all off season and I'll say it again. You're returning all 5 starting linemen. You have a quarterback who at worst is better than the quarterback you had last year. You have a great running back and you have a rushing attack that had 200 yards in 5 games last year. And you have a defense that, to be honest, can only be better than it was last year.
Yeah.
So, like, we talked about it with our guy Andy on the Kansas show as kind of our season preview this year. You know, the defensive backs were not very good, and you saw how many transferred out last year and
Right.
went down, honestly, to different schools. Obviously, we'll talk about another guy who stayed in the same conference, and was it two guys who were defensive backs and stayed in the same conference. But Justin, that's a $2 fine there. We're right in the mic, brother. What
Yep.
are we doing? Anyway, $2 fine to Cincy Reigns. But so here's the thing, though, Justin. I get it. I don't blame people for not knowing fully, and I'm not saying like we're going to be a top half team, but I I do think that there's, like, if you want to be down on Satterfield and you want to be down on the team, can't blame you, brother. Last year was rough, but
Mm-hmm.
I can only think of it as being like the lowest point, and unless people get hurt, unfortunately, like, we were just talking about Dante. If more people are unfortunately hurt and out, then that does change my thoughts on this. But the roster only got deeper this past offseason with the transfer portal additions. And I think that was part of just, coming into this league is we had enough players for the first 2 quarters, but you could see that by the end of the game, our depth would just wear down, and just keep wearing down. Like that, if you look at that Oklahoma State game, for example, I think we were up 10-7 or we were down 10-7 at the half for that one. Like that one was like fairly close for that first half. I don't really think any of us thought they were going to win the game just because we knew what Oklahoma State was, but it was still surprising to see, us be in a game at the half that late in the season. And then it kind of just fell apart. Second half, Ollie Gordon ran all over us. Happens. I do think, though, that if with the additions of guys like Kai Stokes and Derek Canteen and Jared Bartlett, like more guys who have played or were at power schools before coming to Cincinnati, just that depth alone, I think you can really build something there. So I'm not mad about it being 14th. I just think it's a good example or it's a good setting for, the team. And it's not manufactured adversity. It's real life people doubting them. And, if they play their cards right and, the coaches get the right things in there, then they can really use that to their advantage.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, like, there's a lot more upside to this team than I think people are giving them credit for. And look at where we ended up last season. I think if you put that in comparison and you're looking at a team that's probably only going to progress based on a pretty poor year last year, I think you have to think they're going to do better than that. And that's just like the baseline. Like, that's just the baseline expectation is to hit 6 games at some point in the year. If you hit 6 games with the makeup of this conference and the fact that there's 16 teams now, there's not a lot of room if you're winning 6 games to be stuck at 14, 15, or 16. Sorry, coming off of COVID. A lot of stuff in my system here still. With that said, like, I think that probably clears you of at least the top 12. Like, I think you're in the top 12. You're looking probably closer to 10 if you're at 6, 7 plus games. And of course, I think a lot of people aren't expecting that the Bearcats are going to get past that 6 number. There are a ton of doubters, and I do understand that perspective. It's very fair. However, I will say, like, if you look at the makeup of what the Bearcats program has been for so many years, regardless of conference, regardless of competition, regardless of the coach, regardless of the players, they might be down for a year, but they always come back and they start swinging. And they start swinging and they build and they build and they build. And is it going to be different in the Big 12? We don't know. I mean, we're only 1 year in. And the first year obviously was a punch in the teeth, but there's a lot of factors that were out of our control and a lot of factors that were out of our hands when it comes to just getting up to speed. You have a new coaching system, you have guys that are not used to this level of play, and you're trying to make this whole thing work and mesh. And then you have guys who are, quite honestly, detractors in your program that are also not making that whole situation better and splitting the locker room. So, like, there's a lot of things happening at the same time. And I really feel like for the first time under Satterfield, what we've kind of seen, like you've said this before, from the media team, from what we're seeing outwardly for the team, like, there's a lot of potential, but there's also a lot of unification happening. And it seems like there's a bit more of a unified vision of what we want. And then on top of that, another thing that I feel really good about, like you said, our defense can only get better. I look at a guy like Veit and look at Iowa State's defense last year and look at what we have, and then look the players and the content of our, players that we have, and then bringing a guy like that in to plug that in. I think that defense is going to get so much better and a lot tighter, and the ship is going to run a lot smoother. And so with that said, again, I don't see how people can be so down, but I understand that somebody's got to be the, like, runt of the litter. Somebody's got to be at the bottom, and they're happy to stick us there. And I guess it is what it is. I understand why other teams think that because, again, Oklahoma and Texas are out. It's open season. Like, I really get that, but I think the Bearcats have a lot more to offer than just ending up in 14th place at the end of this season. So hopefully we don't eat our words, but I'm looking for top 10. That's my goal. If you can get top 10 in bowl, I think you've satisfied everything for me that I needed out of this season. We have an easy schedule, but if you can't get top 10 or you can't get 6 games, then we got problems. But if you get 6 games at some point through the mix, because it's always going to be hard, you're making progress. So
Yeah, and I think the problem too is that they, just how down people are on Satterfield, and like I'm not going to tell anybody how to feel. I have my opinions. That's why you're listening to me on this podcast. Thanks for listening, by the way. And people are going to be down on Sat. People are going to be like lukewarm on Sat. I think how he does this year is really going to be the bellwether of whether he's, they're not going to fire him after this year. Let's just put that out of the hat. Like we just don't got the money right now. Okay. Like, I'll be honest with y'all. Like we don't got it,
yeah.
So it's going to be at least 2 more seasons of Sat. And I think at heart, if you're a Bearcats fan, despite, the coach not being what you want, you still want them to win. So, and I don't blame anybody for really not being fully bought in. I still think personally he has some work to do, and we'll talk about recruiting on another day. But I do think that this current team can do better than 14th. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's the floor, the absolute floor.
Yeah,
and maybe that's the way they look at it. Who knows?
Like, we're not going to Arlington or anything, Justin, but
yeah,
it's just got to be. I think it can be way better than 14th.
Absolutely, completely agree with that. Just gonna put this out there too. For some of our guys who went to Vegas this week, we had Luke Kandra, Corey Kiner, Mason Fletcher, and Derek Canteen. Nice little round mix of guys there. Awesome to see Fletch in there. I think that's just a cool thing. You don't always have a special teams guy who's going to go and represent your team in a Big 12
and
Media
he's
Days,
clearly
like
one of the 2 dudes that, like, I mean, we saw it earlier this year with the press conference with Corleone and Fletcher as Sat's 2 bodyguards for that that early offseason press conference. Like, those are obviously like the 2 guys he has identified as program guys. And I saw a couple people like upset about not seeing Sorsby there. And I mean, I get it, but he's a sophomore. Like, maybe like let's just give the guy some time and let the seniors speak. Because, like, not to say that he's going to say anything bad, but like I would just let the guys with more seasoning and more media training just go out there and handle it and just say all the right things, and not really, like, I think the worst thing you can do at any media day or any media availability is make yourself or make your team look worse. And again, I'm not saying that Sorsby is going to make the team look worse. To be honest, I have not really read or heard much from him, so I don't even know what his voice sounds like. Maybe that is more on me, but and maybe eventually we will get like some camp stuff. But who was also there, Justin? I want to give a quick shout out. It's not on the rundown, but my man Dan Horde. I tweeted this.
Oh yeah,
he is everywhere all of the time.
Yes,
yes, like he is doing all the things for both UC and the Bengals. He's even stepping into the UC podcasting lane by opening up his own podcast shop. So, like, man, good for him. Like, he is just everywhere all the time. Like, he's got that dog in him. So shout out to Dan. Like, I did think it was kind of funny that we couldn't like put him, like, we probably could have put a mic on him when the fountains were going in the background, or got some more lights. Like, I would have some questions for the social media and production team on that one, but still a work in progress. I mean, I guess 3-9 teams get 3-9 prizes.
Well, like you said though too, I mean, you don't want somebody to say something like, bad, or you don't necessarily want somebody to like put too much pressure on them. I think also with Sorsby, like, there's going to be a lot of pressure because he's taking up a role that was very dominant for a long time. Then last year just kind of felt like it was up in the air, and again, another transfer. I think there's a lot of heat on that position for the quarterback room in general. And you have a lot of guys who could be in that role right now. Sorsby obviously is going to be the guy, but Like you said, take some of the pressure off. Don't put a guy in that situation. Also, you don't want somebody to be like Shadur Sanders and say, we're everybody's Super Bowl, because then everybody's like, whoa, cool. All right, now we'll kick your ass.
And
you
you
can have
already
that
got
too.
memed by having the wrong nameplate anyway. So we
Exactly.
already had a rough PR. And our friend Dolly Drama was quote tweeting and said like 2 years in a row. Because if you remember last year, we had the uniform fiasco. And then this
Mhm.
year we had another uniform thing. And then, yeah. So fun.
I would also like to mention that Iowa State and I think another school, if I remember correctly, but Iowa State did not have the Big 12 patch on their uniform either. I might have been.
Yeah, no, it's really not a big deal. I was just kind of, I was probably the only one that noticed that because I thought people were making fun of us for not having the patch on before I realized that Cincinnati was misspelled.
Yeah.
So
Better than misspelling it on your uniform.
yeah, Indiana,
That could be real. Yeah, exactly. Looking at you, India.
Indiana,
Looking at you at India. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, so with all those points made, I have one thing that we'll leave for the last of this kind of segment. But before we get there, I also want to mention this is an interesting topic of recent because of media days and a little bit of the Bearcats community and a little bit of the Central Florida community. UCF brought Deshaun Pace to media days. Is this something to make something of or not?
I don't think so. I see, like, because all the UCF fans tell Cincinnati, like, no, we're not really like that much of rivals. But I mean, like, I
Les
think it is.
Malzahn said it himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I do think it's interesting, though, that they brought him, that he has kind of become like more of a leadership role on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just a different leadership style between the, Satterfield and Gus, and maybe like UCF's. To be honest, like they went to a bowl game. They kind of probably like they might maybe they feel like they have a better program infrastructure than us right now, just because Gus has been there longer than Sat. He's built it up and he's got his guys in there. I mean, that CFB Knights guy, I swear there are zero jokes with him unless it's like at the
Oh yeah.
expense of someone else. It's all very serious. And I'm like, brother, it's Twitter. We're just here to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
But he was trying to say like, oh yeah, team leadership guy. I'm like, all right, whatever. But just to be fun, Justin, and just because I want our rivalry to keep going, I'll say it's poking the Bearcat. You see what I
Oh, for
did there?
sure.
Poking the
It's for
Bearcat.
sure
Yeah.
poking the Bearcat. I'm sorry. Like if you're bringing the bait out. You're asking for somebody to bring it up,
Yeah.
which means that like you know what you're doing, which is sure. I mean, he's a senior. He's grad senior. Like it makes sense. He's probably in some kind of leadership role on the team. He's got a lot of experience. He's probably going to be their best defensive player on their team or one of the best defensive players on their team. So like
He might
sure, like
already be one of the highest talented
he could
players
be the
if you
highest already. He
yes,
could
if
very
he
well be the highest out of all
yes.
of them.
If you've seen his Instagram stories, you know what we're referring to.
The
So
day, the very
literally
day,
the day
the
it's
day
just
it's allowed. It is allowed. It is loud
Hey,
that day.
if they allowed that in their leadership at UCF in their locker room, then like,
Hey man,
hey,
Snoop smokes, so can Deshaun Pace. Moving on. Steve, what are the odds that somebody out of these three dudes that have transferred from UC to UCF is it is there a palpable tension that perhaps there could be some kind of playbook sharing? Is this a thing that would happen? Is there enough IP kind of protection? Is there enough morality here? Looking at you, Jesse, whatever the fuck your name was, we already forgot. Michigan guy, is there enough morality
oh,
here?
Connor Stallions, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know why I was thinking of Jesse. I don't know what that is. Regardless, is there enough morality here that
I
they would
mean,
not do something like this? Or are they most definitely sharing whatever information they have?
that's just kind of what you do, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of part of it. So a little inside the walls here. The players, at least when I was there, they all got their own iPads, and they, if they left, they like, you didn't just get to keep your iPad. It's like there's like 100 coaches and players iPads, but like it's not, we're not just buying new iPads every year. Maybe we are
Right.
now because Big 12 money, but back then we were not. We were just like, turn in your iPad when you're leaving, like, or if a coach is leaving to go to another school, that kind of thing,
Mhm.
So there is not and like, I don't know how many players are like, exporting the playbook onto their desktop and like saving it there. Like, they're not like office dudes like you and me, like
Right.
they're, I don't know how much of that is happening. So it's probably not like actual, like paper sheets, X's and O's, but I mean, that's all on film, right? Like you can just watch all of that, and like maybe Montgomery can give something to Gus, like, and or give something to the defense, like this is like the tendencies and stuff, and then pace and threats can give something to. Well, actually, I take that back. Since there's a
I
new
got all the plays right here, baby.
oh, Justin's doing
A full
Bearcat leagues.
terabyte on Gus Malzahn.
Justin's doing night leagues over here. Wiki night. But I will say though, Justin, that they cannot leak. I mean, unless you just go watch Iowa State defense, but technically pace and threats cannot leak anything from Brian Brown's defense last year because new defensive coordinator. So
That's true.
there you go. But it is kind of funny though that like Gus and Sat kind of have a similar offense. Gus is probably more of a air it out and go fast kind of thing, but they do kind of still both run that like heavy run the ball style. And Gus's offense is obviously more centered around having a running quarterback, but
I like KJ Jefferson.
yeah. So, but it's I mean, that's kind of the name of the game, right? And this isn't me. This is more me listening to like Stephen Godfrey and Split Zone Duos saying like this just happens. Like you just share information whenever you cross lines. Like there's
right.
It's not like you're signing an NDA at your old school to go when you go to your new school. Like it happens. But that's the name of like the game, right? It's all about adjustments. The nebulous adjustments that fans always talk about, like, oh, they got to make an adjustment at halftime where it's just a guy on his couch who has not played or coached football ever. And is just like, something's wrong. They got to fix it, So without knowing that they are constantly fixing things all of the time and like changing things and watching, like football coaches are like crazy, man. And like, Big 12, it's going to be even crazier, obviously this year, because the margins are that much thinner. So it's possible, like theoretically, maybe Montgomery shared some plays with the UCF defensive coordinator, but if they say they're not our rival, then then maybe they don't care. So who knows?
Fair enough. That is fair. Steve, this is our last thing, and then we got to move because we got a lot of stuff to cover. Like we said, it's the off-season Megapod. There's a lot happening.
Megapod.
It is going to be the most mega thing you've ever seen. I just have to say it, put it out there. It's going to be huge. Yeah, absolutely huge. Anyways,
Vice President.
See, Steve, did you happen to rank the helmets?
Yeah, Justin, I did.
You already kept your list. You have a list.
So I'm going to pull it up here, just to have it in front of me. And
okay,
how about this, Justin? 2841 in the stream. Clip it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So I am going to go with number 1 being the Bearcat, obviously, and number 16 being UCF, because obviously, even though they do got a nice one. So, but just off the rip here, my other favorites are that BYU one. That one is really nice. The blue, I do like that one a lot. The Utah one as well. Kansas State, pretty traditional with the Power Cat. I love that one. Iowa State, a shocker. They're actually using their school colors. Pretty good. TCU, I know theirs is a little bit simple, but I do like theirs with the like the chrome frog decal.
Yep, that's nice.
Arizona, I have a little affinity for just because like it's like pretty simple. It's just the A and then the but it's got the mismatched stripes on the dome. It's the red and blue, red, white, and blue. If you don't like red, white, and blue, then leave. America. I like the Sparky one, and then if I really had to pick one of my least favorite ones, these are all pretty prime helmets, I will say. But if I had to pick one of my least favorites, I will say that I am not a fan of script on
Baylor.
helmets.
Oh,
Yeah, very
boring.
Packers, I'm not a fan of script on helmets, and I feel like the UH from Houston is already a very good
Yeah,
logo. So
that's fair.
I prefer their Cougar script if they're going to do a script to the Houston script.
True.
So, but yeah, they're kind of standing out to me there. I'm not really a big fan of theirs. Also, is the CPAW bigger this year on the helmet, or is that just me?
I think it's always that big. I think it always looks like it changes scale, but it never actually does. But maybe it is bigger. Who knows? I wouldn't be opposed to it being bigger.
No. It's as a uniform guy, I will say it's about the same. But man, that
Fair enough.
Sparky is clean though, and then the Nightmarish J in the comments here of this one is saying that the matte West Virginia helmet goes hard. It's fine. It's fine. It's a very solid look. It's nothing bad about it. It's fine. It's just fine.
Fair enough. All right. You gave me that. I'm going to give you my full 1 through 16 rundown.
Okay, let's
and I'm gonna
go.
fly through it. It's going to be so easy to clip. This is going to be straight up TikTok. We're coming at you fast. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Hold on. Oh, shoot.
Oh,
Okay, here we
Justin
go.
wasn't ready.
Right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bearcats. Clear everybody. They have to be number 1 because I'm biased and those are our standards. You cannot vote against the Bearcats. With that out of the way, number 2. BYU, baby blue, the
Clean.
royal blue, the royal blue,
Royal blue,
beautiful.
Clean.
Provo, love you. TCU, fantastic, love the helmet, great work. Arizona State, love Sparky, perfect. Want to see more mascots on helmets. I think it's the coolest thing in sports. Kansas, following it up, love mascots on helmets. I think it's awesome, even though it's their logo, still a mascot on a helmet. Love it, love it, love it.
Nice matte lid,
Utah.
too.
Utah
Oh, yeah.
looks very
That's
clean.
nice.
I like that. It's a good look. The white face mask. Beautiful. Great. West Virginia. Matte helmet. Looks clean. I like it. Looks good. Huge. Very nice. Kansas State. Power Cat. Clean. Simple. Great. Colorado. It is what it is, but it looks nice. Tech. Good, but you're also black and red, so you got to go to the middle of the playing field. We can't keep you up here with us. I'm sorry. Houston. Yeah, it is what it is. UCF. Yeah, it is what it is. I like it. It's okay. It's whatever. I don't have anything.
If I was not a UC fan, I would like the UCF one a lot.
If it was the
It's
Canaveral blue, I will put that straight up to the top. As much as I hate UCF, that helmet is beautiful. Put it at the top.
I agree.
Beautiful. Arizona, it is what it is.
It's a little
Iowa
bland.
State,
I agree.
I'm bored. I'm sorry, I'm bored. Oklahoma State, I'm bored. It looks red. It doesn't even look orange. It's not.
You don't like that one? That
No,
was nice.
not a fan. And
Okay.
last but not absolutely it is least, Baylor. The most boring helmet ever. I hate that green. I love color. I love the color green. It is my favorite color. I love green. You ruin it. Green and yellow are not meant to go together and it looks bad. I'm sorry. Bear down.
And then their current they're Sikkim. Arizona's bear down, but yeah, their new uniform set too looks like they are the Edmonton Eskimo. Edmonton Elks. Excuse me, I didn't say that other word. Not a good word to say. Don't say it. They don't even look like the Packers. They look like the Edmonton Elks because I don't know. I also didn't like what like Nike did with the jerseys this year. Like TCU, they just said, yeah, TCU, those uniforms that you wore to the national championship game with the spikes and the Ladinian Townsend, great.
Do it
We're
again.
just ditching all of that and you're just going to wear purple now.
Yeah.
Just purple and white. That's it. And I'm like, come on, guys! Like that's a little boring. I think a lot of the UCF fans were not like a fan of that.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, Steve, we made a lot of time on that whole segment. So after the first 35 minutes, we will now break into our second segment, the KFord Projections and the Gotta Have It game. All right, we're going to make this quick, but Steve, take a look at the KFord Projections. After looking at those, tell me, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
So
shout out Kelly Ford.
Yeah, shout out KFord, favorite. Go find him. So the thing that I find interesting is that he is pretty high on the Bearcats. He puts the Bearcats of having 6 or greater wins at a 48% probability, which he has an overall 5-5 win total, 5.5 wins projected, and overall ranking of 53 across the country. And I pretty much agree with his list. Like, he has the first 4 games of our schedule is pretty winnable. Arizona State is pretty winnable. And then the rest of the games are not very, very favorable. I kind of favor UC in the Colorado game more than he does, just because of how Colorado looked near the end of the season last year. So it's like, to me, he is pretty high on KFord, because there's another ranking that is very they only has the it's a certain ESPN Plus ranking that only has the Bearcats at a 5.1 wins this year, and an overall 70 rank, for good for 14th in the league. KFord, he's got us 13th. So shout out to our guy.
Really climbing that ladder.
Yeah,
you got to get your wins where you can. One of the things I always find interesting that I love doing when you're looking at the KFord ranking is looking at the year projections and just kind of seeing the year over year from where he's had his rankings versus the offense, defense, and special teams. It's interesting because when you go through that, you see kind of where 2021 was, you see where 2020 was, sort of the rise of the Bearcats through 2020, and of course to the playoff year. I think it's really interesting when you watch the fall off that happened last year. But then you think about some of the improvements and some of the other areas where I think we can make up a lot of pace. Offense, I think, was really like not all that terrible. The effectiveness was not always there, but the offensive scheme, I think, really can work. And I think if we can get some nails on the board there, I think we can really start to make a lot of progress. And I think that's one of our biggest areas for improvement when it comes to the two sides of the ball of offense and defense. Of course, special teams, that is what's going to make or break, I think, this year, just like it was last year. I think offense and defense, that balance that Satterfield's trying to work through, still going to take some time. But I think the thing that can literally be like night and day, light switch, special teams. You get that stuff right. You stop muffin punts. You get a lot of the downfield work good. You get the kicking game really in line, icy in your veins type of football, like that improvement there, I think, can literally make the difference in 1 to 2 wins. Especially if you look at last season, literally special teams was the difference between probably 2 or 3 more wins last year. So I think if you get that on the board, that's where I feel, a lot of our projections can go up really quickly. And like you said, I mean, I think I would agree with you on that like a lot of these things feel pretty balanced. When you look at the games, according to KFord, we're favored in 5 of them. And we're also favored in 5 of the first 7 games. So I would take that. That puts us on course for the Bowl by Boulder. If you win one more of those, I mean, if you can go in like 6-1, if you can go like 5-2, 6-1, I think you're feeling pretty good at the beginning of the season. Obviously, the 6-1 is probably your ceiling, I think. I don't think you're quite going to get to 7-0. That would take a lot of work, and you have to beat a really tough UCF team on the road in Orlando. And I'm not going to count out Texas Tech, and God forbid we have a conversation about Miami. That's just going to be out the book. I just want to call out that the 58% on Miami, like, just feels disgusting to me.
And they have the number 1 special teams in the nation.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like,
interesting.
That worries me. So I don't know, man. Like, I got some intel that apparently they were trying to tell the guys all year last year about the bell, and hopefully it rings home for them this year. So.
Hopefully somebody it makes sense for
after they've lost it, So
yes, precisely. All right, Steve, we've got that. Our last part of this segment before we move on to the thing that everybody's talking about right now. I asked a question last week or the week before. I think it was last week. You get to pick one game that you guarantee a win in for this season, for 2024. Everything else is up to Saturday and the Bearcats. What game, if you can pick right now, before the season starts, are you locking in? No chance do you lose that game. It doesn't matter how important it is to the season. It's about how important it is to you. Steve, what game are you locking in right now?
You know, if I'm just looking at it, Justin, I gotta lock in that West Virginia game, honestly, because I think that is probably our. We'll see how TCU is, this year. But man, having that extra win in November, when you and I have talked about how tough that
Mhm.
November is and how front loaded you probably need to stack your wins earlier in the season is, getting a guaranteed win against West Virginia would be huge. And
Yep.
turning this from a 3-9 to a 6-6 or a 7-5 would be like incredible. It would
Yep.
be great. But I also just want to I don't know if you know, Justin, our West Virginia friends have let us know about this. We are like 3-17-1 against West Virginia. And I simply don't like that one
Yeah,
bit.
that's
So
fair.
I want to turn that around this year. So if I had to pick one guaranteed dub on the board, give me the Mountaineers at home on the dedication day for Jimmy Nipper at the stadium for the 100th year anniversary of his dedication. 5 more yards than drop. Give me the Mountaineers at home. I would be my guaranteed choice.
That's very fair. I have a very similar mindset to you. However, I think the home atmosphere is going to be more winnable than an away atmosphere. And for those exact same reasons, minus the rivalry and minus all that, for the competition level in games in November, I'm going with K State. K State, number 2 in the preseason media poll. People are really high on Kansas State. And I think there's a good reason for it. I think they're going to be a legit team throughout the entire season. Of course, we dodged Utah, which are the favorites to win the conference. I got to go with Kansas State because if you can lock in a basically Thanksgiving-ish game, I'm not sure exactly when Thanksgiving is date-wise this year, but that's probably going to be that weekend or the weekend before.
Weekend after.
Um, Weekend after.
Yeah.
It's the
So we get
23rd.
so we have let's use our Google and look it up. So
It's probably the weekend before. Regardless.
it's Thursday, November 28th. So
Okay.
this
So
is the
yeah,
weekend
weekend
before
before.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Okay. So if you can lock in that game, you've got TCU at home to follow that up. If you can lock in that road game, I think that's going to be huge because that's going to be a team that would probably be doing the most work. And like you said, you've got a lot of chance to do yourself favors in the front half of the season. The back half is going to be very difficult. Take that game where you can get it, Kansas State. We asked you guys what your opinion was on that very same question. So I'm going to go ahead and read off some of the ones here. Um, from our friend Bracket Guy, Northern Kentucky Bracket Guy at Bracket NKY. Practically, you have to say Kansas State. It's the hardest game on the schedule. But personally, go Colorado and expose them. Go beat Colorado. I agree. That's a good one, too. I think Colorado would be great, because Colorado's everybody's Super Bowl. Go beat them. Thank you, Shitter Sanders. Harold at Harold and Cincy at KSU, given that they were one of the best teams in the league and a road game, it'd be a good win that would hopefully point to a positive trajectory for the program. I would agree with that as well. I think that is really a momentum, not even a momentum, that's a statement win. You might not even have momentum at that point of the year, but if you can steal that game on the road in Manhattan, that is absolutely that's a momentum win right there, or statement win. Jesus, can't speak. Bearcat fan, Jumpman Cats at Colorado. Anyone else making the trip? Jizzle Jame enthusiast. I love all the Jizzle Twitter handles that are out nowadays. At Colorado would be amazing. Silly little Bearcat says K-State or Colorado would give us the most problems, so one of them. Somebody said, Ben Safer said, please beat Pitt. That's fair. That's a guy who is stuck in the Big East days, and fair enough. And I'm going to just run through the rest. Colorado, 10-26. That would be UCF. Colorado, obliterate Miami by a lot, and we'll see. Kansas State, Colorado, West Virginia, and
10-26 is Colorado, by the way.
sorry,
10-12 is
Colorado.
UCF.
Yeah, thank you very much.
There's a lot of just 10-12s in here. People aren't even saying the name, man.
Yeah. Colorado, West Virginia, Colorado, Texas Tech, UCF, TCU, Orlando Tech, Orlando, Miami, Orlando. Yeah. and there's a few Miamis, but the 10-12 has the most likes on it. So it looks like the fan consensus is UCF. So shout out to all you
Fitting
folks.
that it is on the 10-12 pod, that we are on
Yes.
the 10-12 podcast network, and that game is on 10-12. So
there might have to be something special there. We'll work up with the sons of.
Well, I will be in Indonesia that weekend, unfortunately.
Ooh.
So I will not be able to help you out. So.
Forgot about that. Justin's going to be flying solo for a little while. We might have to bring on somebody else to help me out. But, okay, that's another segment out. Steve, we've got like 30 minutes. We're going to fly through the rest of this stuff. Here we go. Folks, we've been waiting a decade for it. It is magic. It is absolute beauty on a screen in a small little box in your home. It is NCAA football in a video game. Steve has brought out NCAA 13, not 14. 14 is the one everybody still has. 13 is a quality game as well.
Just tells you how much of a hipster I am. I don't even have 14.
Yeah, you hipster. You hipster. You don't play 14. What are you doing? We have waited so long for this game. There's been so much hype about it. When it first got talked about, I don't know if it was last summer or the summer before. I feel like we've been waiting an eternity.
2021.
So long. 21. Yeah, it is the first time that we saw the confetti come down, and it just says, college football is back. Everybody's like, let's fucking go. We're using our one FU for this. There you go. There's your PG-13 rating. You get one in every movie. And this show is a movie, by the way. It's great to have it back. There's going to be a lot of things that a lot of people are excited for, but we're going to keep it Bearcat-centric for the moment. The Bearcats have two players that have made the top 100 in football players in the game for 2024, 2025. Those are Luke Kandra and Dante Corleone, the Godfather. They made the top 100. Kandra is in 53rd overall with a 91 overall rating in the game, and Corleone came up at 70th, also with a 91 overall. There is a pretty large spread of the 90, 91s, 92s, and I think the highest rated is all the way up to like 97. It does seem to be like a fairly balanced system after seeing some of the gameplay and some of the other stuff, some of the other videos on the game, Dynasty Mode, some of the other things that are rolling out literally this week as we speak. It's just exciting. Like, this is a really cool time because people have been waiting for this game. As I've talked to Steve before this, like, people have been waiting for a decade for this game, and just the hype around this and the excitement is palpable. And I think it really is just going to bring back a lot of love for a lot of people to just play games again. Because I think, some people, like, this is what they did, like, when they were in college. Some people, this was like their high school or their middle school thing. And now, like, it's back again. It's relevant. It's up to speed, new engines, new data. It just feels good to have college football back. So I am super excited for it. It makes the excitement for the actual college football season even more exciting because you get to play with these guys like months before the season starts and really kind of get a feel for these teams and sort of build up more hype around it. And I just think it's cool. Like, video games are fun and they're meant to be fun. And just that adding to the excitement of bringing college football back and bringing the season of 2024 back for us, I think is just going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to it. Steve, kill everybody's vibe who's a Bearcats fan right now. Tell us our overall.
Yeah, so our overall, it's an 81, which, I mean, to be honest, I thought it would have been a lot worse, but, it would have been a lot better if we were still, if we were not in a Power 4 league. Power 4 league, I imagine that's a little bit higher. I have not seen, honestly, the rankings for, or the ratings for these other teams. Like, is that pretty bad, Justin? Like, you tell me.
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, it's not great. We're not going to be like the team that somebody picks up and is like, okay, my friend just picked, I don't know, like Texas. My friend just picked like Georgia or Alabama or some other random Power 2 team, as they want to call themselves. It's not the team that you're going to pick to beat them, but it's a team that you're going to struggle with and you're going to have fun with. and you might build a dynasty around. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. The 82 offense, the 81 defense, it is what it is. I'm actually kind of surprised that the offense is higher than the defense, but we'll take it for what it is. It's the Bearcats exist in a video game once again. That's what matters.
Yes, this is exactly true. So is this is this like just well Justin, are you taking this from the from like that screenshot of
Yes.
because so not to shout out our former well, not employers, but the page we used to run who has kind of gone
Not that
downhill.
one. I'm taking this one from the video that EA dropped.
Oh,
That
that's right.
actually went through the team ratings and everything.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot.
To be fair, at the time, they were going through Dynasty mode. So technically that could be a different rating than what is actually reflected in the game. But we were pretty much one of the only teams that we actually saw a rating for that was broken down like that, because they happened to fly by the Bearcats going through the ratings breakdown and some of the other stuff of when they were talking about the teams, recruits, and all the other facets of Dynasty mode. So
because they have
could be higher.
They have Iowa State at an 87 overall, and they have Arizona at 87, Kansas 87 over. Like, so 81 to me is like not that far off. So I kind of imagine it might be a little bit lower than that. So
yeah,
check up with us in a week. We'll see. We'll let you know like what it actually is.
We might be pissed off, or we might be relieved. We'll find out. Speaking of pissed off or relieved, there are some teams that are just absolutely stacked in this game, and there's some teams that are quite honestly not, just because of the way programs work. If you're trying to start a team and you're trying to start a dynasty and you're going to build one around one team, it can't be the Bearcats. You can't choose the Bearcats because, of course, we're going to choose that here. What team would you choose to start your dynasty for fun?
Now, am I allowed to keep the team that I was using on my NCAA 13 on Dynasty, or do I have to pick a new team?
You have to pick a new team.
Okay.
But tell us what that team was.
The East Carolina Pirates.
Arg,
first down Pirates. So there was that. But if I have to pick a team that I would start the dynasty with, I have an affinity for the Southwest now that I've lived here for a little bit. So I'm going to go with the New Mexico Lobos. And you know why? Because they're traditionally one of the most terrible programs in college football. Like, I cannot tell you the last time New Mexico did a thing. And, you know, New Mexico State is like probably even more of a hipster pick than New Mexico, just because, you know, they've gone to bowls, they've done fun stuff, like, and they were independent before they joined Conference USA. But I don't know, man, something about New Mexico. I would love to see that happen. So either them or Hawaii.
That's fair. Hawaii is a good one. That would be fun. Very interesting.
I just learned today that Hawaii has like a very generic ass stadium. They don't have a real stadium in real life. They just built a stadium around their practice field while they're building a new stadium is in the works. So like that kind of just killed, because if you're going to play a dynasty, you got to play in like a legit stadium. You can't just play in a created. So that kind of knocked Hawaii down on the ranks for me. What about you, sir?
That's very fair. I think because I am a I would say if I had to pick any of them, because of my desire for visual satisfaction while playing this game, which will be absolutely beautiful, I have to pick a beautiful stadium, which means that, Steve, you know where I'm going with this. I have to side with our friends in the mountains. The Cougs, the BYU Cougars. I have to pick that because the setting, I can only imagine the sunset games that will be so beautiful in that stadium. That stadium is electric. It's a lot of fun. It's a cool atmosphere. I really like it. So I think I would pick BYU simply for that fact, because you have to play so many games in Dynasty and you play them for so long as one team.
That's true.
So that's a thing I think would probably never get old.
I'd be interested to hear your recruiting pitch, though, for your Dynasty BYU.
And that's exactly where I was going to say, because it's going to get even more interesting because there's so many rules. And guess what? Guess what, Steve? NCAA is not going to care about those rules, which means I can recruit the most horrible human on earth to BYU to play football. And
Wow.
it would be
Okay.
That's
You
not
took a different turn than I was expecting there, to be honest.
we will recruit the best, most academically and sound religious men in college football to BYU to curb stomp Alabama. That's what we'll do. That's what we're gonna do. So that is that is who I would pick, and that is what I'm gonna stick with. Steve, I think I had one more question here. Oh, I did. Okay. I already answered this because I said that. I think if I had a second one to add to this, Washington has a cool stadium, and I would love to see
So,
that
Justin,
too.
you're kind of not really following the assignment here. The assignment is to pick like the shittiest school and like take like a max school, for example, to like to just ultimate D1 glory, like Big Cat Toledo.
Okay,
You know?
fine. Maybe that's the second question, which is what stadium would be the coolest to play in, and it can't be Nippert, which would be my answer. So
Yeah, no, that's
there's
fair.
my answer for me. If I were to pick a different school, perhaps a MAC school, to take to stardom, I think for my former Michigan residency, I would probably pick the Chippewas.
Oh, fire up chips! Fire up!
Fire up
Yeah,
chips. There you go. We
yeah.
got to
Wow,
take
I
those
like that.
boys to the top, and they've been good before.
Yeah,
And they're going to come back. So that would be my pick if I had to pick a non-Power 5, Power 4 school.
I like that. Okay, all
Steve,
right.
what would be the most beautiful stadium to play in? Ram it off for me.
Well, so I would have said Aloha Stadium in the old game, but like I said, Hawaii does no longer have a stadium. But you did mention a stadium that is quite beautiful, and I am looking forward to seeing Husky Stadium on the Washington
Mhm.
Sound. There, oh man,
Yeah.
that would be quite beautiful. I would like to see that, like, or either that or my version of beautiful would be like playing in Laramie in the snow,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
just seeing like I don't know, some random team go up there and just like have no idea what to do in the snow. Oh,
Yeah.
be beautiful.
That would be quite cool. I would also give a honorable mention for Northwestern. I'm going to be interested to see what their stadium looks like in this game because they're like right
Yeah,
on the
they're just doing old Ryan Field. So
Okay.
yeah, so don't pick them. They're not.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not
okay.
good. I was kind of hoping. I mean, obviously EA doesn't have rights to like any MLB stuff, but I was kind of hoping like EA would like like the whatever stadium that does the show would just be cool and be like, can we just use Wrigley? Like, how much
Right.
are you going to charge us to use Wrigley? Because that would be pretty cool for this game if like Northwestern got to play at Wrigley Field for all those, because they are playing at Wrigley Field this year for the Ohio State and one other game. But
Okay.
and like I kind of thought too, like why wouldn't like they let Kansas play at Arrowhead this year? Like, or I just at least have it as an option. Like you can play Kansas at Arrowhead, but I guess they're doing Kansas is doing the old stadium. And then one, Justin, that I thought you'd like because it's local to you. Apparently, Vanderbilt originally wanted to have the construction set there for their stadium this year before they decided to just go with what the stadium's going to look like in the
Oh,
future.
really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
but
I actually didn't know that.
like they wanted like the scoreboard hanging off the crane and everything. Like
That'd be interesting.
I kind of want Vanderbilt to just keep doing that. It's like
Yeah.
it's not going to be finished. We're just doing it off the crane, boys.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
I mean, Vanderbilt, it is just Knoxville West is really what it is.
Yeah.
It is just a lot of Tennessee fans.
Yeah.
With all that said, Steve, we have talked a ton and have not taken our ad break yet. And we have to because our friends at Charlie Hustle have cooked up some even more awesome merch that we have to show you right now. So I'm going to put myself into this little corner with Steve, and we're going to show you these. So this is the new 4 added to the Big 12. We've got the collections to show you. Colorado. Some awesome merch here. You have Ralphie in many different forms. I love the yellow hoodie, and I love the Here Comes Ralphie shirt. That's awesome. Gotta have it. That if you're a Colorado fan, gotta have it. I have a friend who went to Colorado for his master's. I think I could get that for him. It's a pretty nice shirt. Next up, the Utes. I love these shirts. A Utah man I am. I love that shirt. That's a fun little state outline. There you go. More state outlines. Make them proud, make them bold. Overall, very nice, clean, very wearable collection. Very Utah Ute collection there. Next up, we have the Arizona State Sun Devils. And of course, we've got Sparky in two different of those shirts. I really like the shirt in the bottom right with the just kind of like desert theme masked through the logo. That's a pretty cool use. I really like that shirt. That's one that I would pick up if you were, the local to the Phoenix, Tempe-ish area, even though Steven Scottsdale. I think you could support it.
You can. Yeah.
They're not far.
All the boosters are up here. So
yeah. And last but not least, one that Steve will probably be buying one of these somewhere. Cats. It's got to happen. If you're an Arizona fan, there is a plethora of shirts for you to choose from here. I think that hoodie is something that I would just buy.
I think that's the one. I think that's the one,
to
Justin.
that.
Honestly,
as just a fan of the state of Arizona, I think I have to buy that shirt because it's just cool. It's wearable. That's something that you could just travel around with and say, I'm a tourist.
I've always wanted one of those, actually, like a piece of merch with that logo on it, Justin. So I think that might have to be the one.
And you know that hoodie is going to be comfortable. It's going to keep you warm. It's not going to be too hot in the warm weather. Overall, Charlie Hustle's threads, absolutely quality, comfy, no matter what. We're not going to go to that. I think that overall, everything that they've got is just very comfortable, and it will just keep you in the most comfortable condition all season long. It doesn't matter what part of the football season you're in. But, hey, man, you got crew necks, you got T-shirts, you got hoodies, you got plenty of options. Go to the website. Go to www. Did I say too many W's? www.charliehustle.com/collegiate. Check out all of their collegiate shirts, all of their collections. They have every single Big 12 school in there now, and they always keep things fresh, including the old two with Texas and Oklahoma, if you're still one of the fans of those two teams. So go to the website, use the code 101215 for 15% off of all non-sale items. And that would be good for pretty much any of these shirts because they're all brand new. So check that out. Use the link, use the promo code, and we'd be happy to get you some merch over there.
And I don't know if Charlie Hustle would like me saying this, but to be honest, this shirt takes me from a Scottsdale 5 to a Scottsdale 6. So, if you're
it adds a 1. It's a +1.
If you're trying to meet somebody this summer, maybe put on your best Charlie Hustle shirt. You never know.
You never know. Steve and I are already taken. Sorry, guys.
Yes.
Sorry, ladies, but it's probably
you never know, guys too.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, dudes.
Sorry, boys.
We're taking rings.
We are both happily engaged.
With that said, we have about 20 minutes to run through the back half of the show, and
we can do it.
Very doable. Very, very doable. We've got the TBT Smith League offseason basketball. Oh my! A lot of things happening in a very short span of time, but we're just going to run through it real quick. Smith League happened this past week, and I could be wrong on Rayvon's number. I know that I got Jizzles right because Jizzles is just so hard to miss. Jizzle Dreams dropped 47 points. Absolute dog. Hustling out there. Rayvon Griffith, 35. I think it was 35 or right around there. Great to see the contributions from both of them. Awesome to see them playing on the same team, playing some more ball. It's great to just have some more, chemistry built between two players that hopefully we're going to see a lot of on the court this year. And really excited about that. Looks like Rayvon's put on a little bit more muscle too. He's kind of like leaned out a little bit. I mean, he was always kind of pretty lean and in shape, but I think he's kind of beefed up a little bit, and it looks like he's getting a little bit stronger. So I'm excited to see that. And they both look like they're in game ready shape already in July. So great to see that. Steve, you want to take the next one here?
Yeah. So I also want to shout out Tyler McKinley, who did really well at the Smith League last week.
Oh, yes. So thank you. Sorry.
Shout out to him.
Appreciate that.
David DeJulius and now Landers Nolly are playing for the same team in Greece. That's right. Aris BC, and the BC stands for Bearcat because those two boys Yes, that's right. Because those two guys are on the same squad together. So shout out to Greek basketball. We might have to find a way to watch some this year, Justin.
Mhm.
And I do think it's pretty cool though that those two were able to reconnect again. Like
Yeah.
some scout in Greece was like a huge fan of the 2022-2023 Cincinnati Bearcats
Oh, yeah.
because he was watching those games like, man, these guys are nice. Like
He's
they're good.
hoopers.
So I mean, if we can like who's another if eventually if Victor Locken chooses to go play in
Oh, yeah.
Greece, like
That's
maybe
true.
we can get him over there and just reunite the whole entire 2022-2023 squad. I would be all
I'm
for
down
that.
for it. I'm down
But
for it.
I'm sad I didn't make that joke on Twitter, but Aris BC and the BC stands for Bearcat. So
There you
shout out
go.
to them though. That's pretty cool that they're on the same team.
Very, very cool. Speaking of more former Bearcats playing basketball over the summer, the basketball tournament game 1 for Nasty Natty and the regional host starts next Friday at Fifth Third, 8 p.m. EST. Watch it on thebasketballtournament.com. You can check that out there. Very excited for that. Looking forward to see how they perform. Hopefully they can make it even further than they did last year. Of course, they won 2 games, I believe it was last year. Hopefully we can make it 3, 4, all the way down to the end.
We won the whole regional last year. We won all 3.
Oh,
So
yeah,
and
that's
then
right. With 3. I think it was the
then
4th one that we dropped, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
the Elite 8 game. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like seriously though, like we crushed that one. So I was and then I do like that they gave us the rights to host this year after
Mhm.
we beat Xavier,
Oh, yeah.
So I love that. I'm all for it.
Yeah. That I think just makes sense. I think that is the sort of culmination of winning. That the culmination of winning the crosstown shootout alumni game. You just host site rights. That's what you get. You host the game. So, Xavier, we pass the torch to you. It is, or the mic to you, not the torch. We're passing the mic to you. Are you going to stand up and do the right thing and lose again this year? Or are you just going to be assholes and try to win? And then we're going to have to settle this on the court later in the year with the real guys in college basketball. Regardless, that's enough talk on that. The Big 12 home and away matchups dropped. Steve, we could go into a whole frenzy of all of this, and I think we can save this whole thing for next week, but I'm just going to ask you this one question. From the conference pairings that you've got here, let's just look at home and away. Let's look at the whole thing. Steve, what is your game? What is the one game that you're most excited about on this whole list?
Man, it's got to be Arizona at home for me, honestly. Like I'm
Mhm.
quite excited about that. Obviously, like Kansas, but I'd say Arizona was better last year. So, like, man, Arizona at home is going to be really good, and they're a really fun team to watch. So I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I would have to agree. I think the Arizona game is going to be probably the biggest one. I think the Kansas one is probably going to get the most attention because it's Kansas, but the Arizona one's going to be huge. And I think one of the tide turners, if you're looking at some of these other games, the away only game with Iowa State not having a home and home there, I think that's going to be another tide turner game. If you can happen to steal one in Hilton, that's going to be a huge game for the year if you can make something happen there. So those are some of the key games to watch for this year, and some of the most important ones that I think are going to end up determining how the Bearcats fare this year. 15 minutes left. Steve, this conversation never going to die. It can't. It won't. But
No, sir.
neither will Cincy Light. We are right now celebrating a year of Cincy Light officially. Steve, what is the best part about having Cincy Light for a year thus far?
I think the best part was getting to enjoy it at my bachelor party, Justin. Like that was
Yeah.
awesome. That was so
Yes.
cool to be able to be drinking like a Cincy beer, like a truly Cincy beer at the bachelor party. And then just another footnote though is like I didn't really know like obviously you have an idea and you're like, oh man, like how sick would it be if we had our own beer that like donated to our NIL too? Like, wouldn't that be awesome? And like you have your ideas and you just don't really know how they're going to like turn out in the real world. But
Mm-hmm.
dude, like it's so it's legitimately really popular. It's one of Ryan Geist's most popular beers. And that is such a cool thing to know that like people, I always kind of wonder like really how many UC fans are in the city and in the state of Ohio.
Right.
And there are just so many, man. It's so cool to see.
I would like to also throw this out there that I've seen multiple Ohio State people drinking Cincy Lights, and I've also witnessed Xavier people drinking Cincy Lights. So it is just sweet for me as a Bearcat fan to be able to witness that exact moment. And that's all that really matters. One thing I will say is also very cool in celebration of Cincy Light. For those of you who probably may or may not have seen this, because of the success of Cincy Light, it actually has propelled Rheingeist's growth. And I think it's actually pushed them to like start like a whole nother phase of growth and opening more tap rooms for Rheingeist, which is only that can only be a good thing, especially because in a non-nerdy form of talking about, you know, beer and all the other stuff of just brewing and breweries in general, that information as a whole is a whole other department. But beer has obviously grown a ton throughout the 2010s, but it honestly kind of hit a little bit of a slowdown during COVID, and a lot of brands were kind of feeling that heat. And Rheingeist, I think, was even just kind of hitting a little bit of a plateau. The release of Cincy Light and getting some more excitement around it, releasing some of their other beers that became really popular, it's actually ushered in another bit of growth for them, and it's only good to see more distribution from and to Cincinnati because of Rheingeist. So for, again, supporting a local brand, I'm always going to do that. I'm always going to pick them. When I'm here in Nashville, there's plenty of bars that have Rheingeist on tap. I always go to it when I can. I'm waiting for
That's
that
cool.
Cincy Light
I didn't
tap
realize that. That's pretty neat.
in Nashville. I'm waiting to find a Cincy Light tap handle in Nashville.
Especially at a Nashville SC bar, dude.
Oh,
like,
that'd be great.
all the people who really care about that rivalry will just be very upset. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's not a lot of Nashville fans left, and we can talk about that later. They're dying like everyone else. Part of this segment is the fact that realignment will never die. The conversation of realignment will probably never die over the next 50 years of college football. It'll probably just continue to always happen as long as money is a factor, which it is, and it really is a factor now. Steve, there was early talks of some rumor mill of Clemson and FSU pressure right now in perhaps some pushing and pulling in the ACC. Do you have any, is there any substance to this? Do you think something could happen? Do you think that the Big 12, because there are rumors that the Big 12 is throwing out some offers, do you think there's a legit shot that they could get one or both of these programs? Or do you think that they're probably just going to be SEC Big 10 bound? Do you think that the Big 12 has a shot?
I don't personally. But I mean, we saw the same thing with like, one that literally like the week after Yormark took the job, like it leaked out to Brett McMurphy that like, oh yeah, they're looking at the Four Corners schools, and all the Pac-12 heads were like, no, that'll never happen. Like they'll never leave, and then that happened. So I'm not really in a position to doubt Brett Yormark. Like I believe in him. I think he can take us to the moon. I don't really think that it would happen because just for Florida State and Clemson, you're going to do all of this, not to shit on our league, but you're going to do all of that leaving the ACC when you're the big fish in a small pond, just to be the big fish in a small pond once again in the Big 12. Which, and again, we would welcome them with open arms. We would love it. Like I would love having them. But I just think they're going to like try and hold out for that that invite to the SEC, and I think eventually it'll happen for them, just because like the SEC seems inevitable. But and it just makes geographical sense too, all that jazz, but that doesn't mean anything. But I do think it's good though, it's just good for business, to be honest, for the Big 12 to constantly be throwing its name in this mix, because like that's kind of how they made the Pac-12 unstable, is that it was always just like, Big 12 like leaking out stuff. Like it's a very coordinated leak system, Dennis Dodd, where like they are like, that they are sending out things to these two different college football and basketball reporters. And like, I think it's funny that, they are still taking it and running with it and like reporting the news when it's clearly just the Big 12 just like, leaking what they want to share, or, them saying, oh yeah, we reached out, realistically, it's probably going to be like, Pitt or Louisville. Well, sorry, I'm stepping on your next prompt. Justin,
Yes.
Who would you take out of those two and one old Big East rival of Clemson and Florida State and our former Big East friends?
If I were to take one of them personally, because it makes the most geographical sense, I think you got to take FSU. You got to put another Florida school in there. You just got to give a buddy to UCF who's out on an absolute island in Florida. You just got to make some kind of a
The
regional.
toxicity of those Florida State
Oh,
and
yeah.
UCF games, like I am excited for when UCF plays Utah this year because that is going to be toxic at an all-time high. But
Oh, yeah.
like a potential UCF Florida State matchup, like I think Twitter might break, honestly, because
Yes.
like the amount of toxicity that would be like in the air for that one would be absolutely insane. So like sign me up for that.
Yeah. I think you have to take Florida State, and then selfishly, I think, I would love Louisville because I think it's just a little bit closer, makes more regional sense. But I think, you still got to take Pitt. I think just for the West Virginia rivalry there, for the old time's sake, for Cincinnati, I think I'd still probably rather take Pitt just to make the conference bond of hatred feel a little bit stronger. I think you got to throw Pitt in there and really just throw some rocks in people's shoes. So I would take Pitt and Florida State. Just piss some other people in the conference off. Make some more rivalries.
For the basketball sense, I would probably take Louisville, even though they suck.
Yeah,
and
that's
sucked
why
for
I
a
just can't
while.
pick Louisville right
Like,
now.
but
They're so bad.
it's completely fair. Like, I would not take them either. And you could argue that we've had more of a football history with Pitt than we have with Louisville. Like, I mean, we played Louisville for longer, but we had more iconic games, if you can say that, with Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
I'm all down for that. I'm just the toxicity of that Florida State UCF matchup. Feed me that like right into my veins, man. Oh, that would be awesome. Oh,
I'm sure all the UCF fans would love that too.
Oh yeah.
All right, Steve, we're in our last segment here. This is last, but absolutely not least. I am hoping that I am going to pronounce everything right and that I am going
You
to
got it, baby.
make sure that I have everybody, because I know there's a lot of people participating here. But we have a few Olympians in the Bearcat echelon. So upper echelon of Bearcats. Thank you very much. My grammar is off today. I have a little bit of COVID brain fog, so sorry for people who've listened to me stumble through my words. It's a little bit of a struggle today, and it is our first pod back after like a month.
I hadn't really noticed, to be honest.
So, okay, well, thank you.
That's more kind of like normal,
Thank you. I don't know if that's better or worse. Anyways, Bearcats Olympians. We have Annette Echekinowe. Thank you. I'm sorry.
You got it. It's all good.
Right.
All good.
Participating in the hammer throw, was first in the U.S. trials, won the gold in the hammer throw, and that's how she got her spot in Paris for 2024. So congratulations to Annette. Very excited to see you participate for the Bearcats and for the United States. Jordan Thompson going for gold again. Let's go, baby. Get Jordan Thompson up there. I don't know if she's going to be a captain, but I know she's an integral part of this team. It'd be awesome if she is. But regardless, participating for Team USA again, chasing that dream, chasing that gold. Very excited for her. Vanessa Giles. I'm just going to say that because damn, dude. The amount of people that say my name is Hillis, I had a 50-50 shot. And as somebody who is always just dealing with the Hiles, people calling my name Giles or Giles, and I don't even have a G or a J in my last name. It's an H, but people still pronounce it wrong. I'm sorry. Vanessa Gillis, thank you. Playing soccer for the Canadian women's national team. Excited to see her perform there. Wish she could be playing for the U.S., but she's playing for Canada, so go Vanessa. We have Nikhil Harris running the 100-meter for St. Kitts and Nevis. Very exciting there. He's currently a member of the Bearcats track team. And then we have Chris Borzer, who is a Bearcats alum, running the 100-meter as well for Haiti. Would be interesting to see two Bearcats up against each other if they're in the same heat, running the 100-meter against each other.
Be awesome.
Be cool if they took first and second, if they could manage to do that. And with all of those Bearcats mentioned, we are very excited to see you perform, very excited for the Olympics and to see how everybody does. Go get some gold medal. bring home some hardware for the Bearcats and for the United States.
Also, real quick,
in your
shout out
respective
to
countries.
Loretta Blount. She's actually in my wedding party. She is she did compete at the USA team trials and got to the finals. So shout out to her. Awesome accomplishment.
Steve having casually listing off that he is going to be having a track and field national participant in the wedding party.
One of the top 10 high jumpers in the United States will be in my wedding party. So
That's a skill that I think somehow has to be used during your wedding. We got to see if we can manufacture.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, I think we
something
can figure something out. So,
And the last point I want to make on the Olympics before we jump to our very, very last point, Team USA basketball. Steve, do you think they can get gold? This is
if they play the second team, not the first team. If they can play that second team with Anthony Edwards, because I watched the game last night. Gus Johnson and Bill Raftery in the summer, by the way, that was a treat. But
oh yeah,
yeah, that second team was absolutely schooling. That first team looked just old. So they're like, play Anthony Edwards 40 minutes and we'll win gold easy.
Anthony Edwards, and shout out to Iowa State alum Tyrese Halliburton. Okay, very last point, Steve, and then we are going to get out of here. We have to talk about the pro sports update of the entire year so far of 2024. Miami's free ticket all the way up to the top happened week 1. All they had to do was win and be consistent, not be ass, and they would be first place because they have Messi, Suarez, Busquets, and so many other people, including
Di Maria.
Thank you. They have literally FC Barcelona and everybody else you could possibly think of. Granted, they're older, but they're still beating ass. Regardless, FC Cincinnati put a freaking ass whooping on Miami, beating them 6-1 in an embarrassment on the road. They destroyed Miami in Cincinnati, and it was beautiful because that game was the game. It is a match made in heaven. You beat them 6-1, and you take the mantle of the Eastern Conference first place spot from them, which they've held all season long for no fucking reason other than the fact that they were allowed to be scheduled the first game of the season and have one game extra before everybody else until like August or September before they have a bye week to have the catch up for all the other teams. It is ridiculous. It's pissed me off all season, and we finally got back. And the reason that we take the first place spot from them is because we beat the freaking brakes off of them. I love it. I love it.
Justin, what does the Bailey say after goals? Sha la 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 la. Like, oh my god. And like, so there's a clip of that going around on Twitter today as like, this is American soccer culture. And it was just like the announcers laying out for a second, and like the Bailey was just going absolutely it is beautiful. I listened to it about 10 times today. So yes, that was an amazing game. Apparently there were where is Messi chants from the Bailey too, which is great. I appreciate too that there was like a picture of after the fourth goal, there was like 2 kids in like, probably no older than 9, like 2 young boys, like they were wearing like their Messi shirts, and they just did like the thumbs down after FCC scored like the 4th goal, and the mom's wearing like an FCC jersey and just going crazy. Yeah. I'm like, it's the Michael Jordan meme, fuck them kids.
Yeah.
So it was great though. Like that. They might honestly be the best team in the city. I mean, the Reds are being the Reds. They're kind of down this year. Shout out to the other show.
Bengals, it's not even a might. They are the best team in the city. Like even with the Bengals, as good as they are, like there's not a might. Like they've won 12 out of the last 14
and then
games.
The Bengals, like, dude, last year was kind of a letdown for them, honestly. And I know Joe got hurt, so like it's been FCC's town for a good year now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I know the Bengals were just in the AFC Championship game, but FCC was in the Eastern Conference Final last year as well. So and they look even better this year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's possibly like another guy coming at the transfer deadline that would be that'd be a big old name. So.
And like shout out to Acosta, man. Like he's playing another
He should win
MVP
MVP again.
season. Like he should. He's playing better.
They're going to
this
give
year
it to
than he
Messi
did
because it's his
last year.
first full year, but it should be Acosta again.
Like we know how that story is going to go, but who knows? Maybe they fall off. Maybe Messi. I'm not going to. Maybe he just doesn't play all great throughout the rest of the season or whatever. Of course, he probably will. He'll just dominate, but maybe Acosta just waltzes straight into the MVP again, like back to back. That'd be insane. Like, when is the last time that the city of Cincinnati had a back to back MVP? Like, if ever. I can't think.
Big Red Machine, we had a couple of years there where it was different players that were
I'm saying
winning.
the same player. I know it was that.
Oh,
like,
I don't think that's ever happened. I don't think
right.
it is. So
Like this is a crucial time, and I said this on Twitter, and I want to say this again for all the people who are listening to this. Take it all in now, because this is another one of those periods in a sport for the city of Cincinnati that you will look back on in 10, 15, 20 years. You'll talk to your kids or your hopefully not grandkids, depending on how your kids have kids. We don't know how old you are. Regardless, you will talk to people about this and remember, like, this was a dominant team. This is a team that we all look back on fondly of. And you'll remember the names and you'll remember the moments and how exciting it was. This is the time to take it all in. Hopefully they can go all the way to the ship, man, because I think this is a really good team. They should have done it last year, and unfortunately they just got a little too comfy in one half.
Unfortunately, the game got canceled at the end of the first half.
Dude,
don't know what happened.
So many Cincinnati games getting canceled.
I really don't know.
Games getting canceled. I don't understand it.
It's insane. Why are we canceling these games? We should just play the second half. See what happens.
I mean, it was crazy that we canceled that game in Nashville. It was crazy that we canceled that game at home against Columbus.
I know. What the hell?
Why did we cancel the Super Bowl? We made it all the way there. I don't know why it got canceled, but it did. So, anyways, Steve, that was just about an hour and a half of content for everybody's ears to probably be talked off for the rest of the summer. We will obviously be back. Again, we had some other topics that we wanted to go more into. We'll probably do a deep dive on the basketball, not fully dated, but home and away scheduled for Big 12 and many, many more things. And of course, football season's only getting closer. We are T-minus like 60 days now. So we're really in it. And I'm excited for it. Really glad to be able to beat the brakes off of Towson. If we don't, I'm going to be scared and I'm going to be pissing down my leg just like anybody else. So, Steve, got any closing comments?
I don't really, other than I am excited for football. We are less than we're less than 2 months away now for sure.
Yes.
So I am excited about that. And I'm just excited for next week getting to play the college football game. It's just going to be pure bliss, baby.
It is going to be beautiful.
I can't
wait to wreck it with Dante. That's going to be fun. That's going to be real fun.
He's going to be Wreck-It Ralph out there.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thank you very much for joining me this week. Fans and listeners, thank you very much for joining us. Again, 2,500 followers. We're glad to finally get over that milestone on to 3,000. Hopefully, we'll keep growing the show and get some more content, get some more guests, and get some more excitement for you coming up before the season starts. But until next time, whenever that might be, might still be a few more weeks. Keep it fresh. Go Bearcats. Go fighting Gary's. Also, go Red Legs and Viva
La Cats.
Get some.
Get
Bearcats
some.
in the Olympics. Get some. Get some gold.